My thumb hovered over the glowing screen of Sarah's phone, the one she'd left charging on the kitchen counter while she stepped into the shower, and the preview that sliced through my chest like a scalpel read, "I want to take his company, Derek. Every last share." The words blurred as hot tears welled up before I even unlocked the device, because in that single heartbeat I understood the 8 years we had stitched together with late-night laughter and whispered promises were unraveling faster than I could breathe. I swiped the pattern I'd watched her trace 1,000 times, the same lazy loop she used when she thought I wasn't looking, and the full thread opened like a wound. Messages stretching back 4 months, each one a calculated incision into the life I thought was ours. I sank onto the cold tile floor, back pressed against the cabinets, knees pulled to my chest the way I used to sit in our first apartment when the world felt too big, and she was the only small, safe thing in it. The steam from the bathroom drifted under the door, carrying the scent of her coconut shampoo, the same fragrance that used to make me bury my face in her damp hair after she showered and murmur that I was the luckiest man alive. Now it choked me. I scrolled upward, each bubble of text another brick in the wall she'd built between us while I was busy believing in forever. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what my desperate mind tried to sell me. Derek, her college boyfriend, the one she swore was ancient history, had reconnected at an industry conference in Vegas last spring. She'd come home flushed, eyes sparkling, and told me she'd run into an old friend, nothing more. I'd kissed her forehead, proud that my wife still turned heads, proud that she came home to me. But the messages painted a different picture. Late-night memes at first, then inside jokes about professors they both hated, then compliments that lingered too long on the curve of her smile in a selfie she'd sent him from our couch while I slept upstairs. I remember the exact night the shift happened, because I'd come home early from a client dinner with a bouquet of peonies, her favorite, and found her on the balcony, phone clutched to her chest like a secret. She'd startled when I touched her shoulder, laughed it off as work stress, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. That should have been the first alarm. Instead I'd made love to her that night with a tenderness that now felt pathetic, whispering how proud I was of the empire we were building together. My software startup finally turning profitable after years of ramen nights and maxed-out credit cards. She'd moaned my name, but even then her phone buzzed on the nightstand and she reached for it instinctively, a reflex that should have screamed everything. The texts grew bolder. Derek fed her ego the way I used to before board meetings and investor calls swallowed my days. He called her brilliant, ambitious, said she was wasted playing supportive wife to a man who lucked into success. I read that line 3 times, each pass carving deeper, because I'd been the one holding her while she cried over failed job interviews, the one who proofread her grad school essays at 3 a.m., the one who cashed in my 401k so she could launch her own consulting side gig. And now she was letting this ghost tell her I was the anchor dragging her down. I kept scrolling until I hit the message that finally broke me. A voice note from 2 nights ago. Time-stamped 1:17 a.m. while I was snoring beside her. I pressed play with shaking fingers and Sarah's voice, my Sarah, filled the kitchen, husky with wine and something darker. "He's so trusting, Derek." He handed me the updated cap table like it was a grocery list. "If we time the investor leak just right, his board will panic, shares will tank, and we scoop them up through the shell corp you set up. Then the company's ours. I marry the success, you get the equity, and he gets to keep his precious integrity." A soft laugh, the same one she used when we binge-watched true crime, and she guessed the twist. Poor Jake. He'll never see it coming. The phone slipped from my hand and clattered across the tile. Water shut off in the bathroom. The sudden silence roared louder than any scream. I should have confronted her then, should have stood up and demanded answers, but my legs wouldn't move. Instead I sat there picturing every milestone we'd celebrated. Our wedding on the cliffs of Big Sur. The miscarriage we never told anyone about. The night we found out my app hit 1 million downloads and she danced barefoot in the kitchen while I spun her until we collapsed laughing. All of it calculated. Every "I love you." A line in her long con? She appeared in the doorway wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, smiling that easy smile that used to make my chest ache with gratitude. "Hey babe," mind grabbing my. The words died when she saw her phone on the floor, screen still glowing with her betrayal. Her face cycled through emotions so fast I almost laughed. Confusion, recognition, guilt, then something colder, calculation. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She just tightened the towel and said, "Jake, it's not what you think." I found my voice somewhere under the rubble of my heart. It's exactly what I think. You want my company. You want to gut everything I bled for and hand it to him on a silver platter. My words came out steady, which surprised me because inside I was shattering. How long, Sarah? How long have you been sleeping next to me while plotting with him? She crossed the kitchen slowly, each step deliberate, and crouched in front of me like I was a spooked animal. I never stopped loving you, she said, and the sincerity in her voice was the cruelest part. This was business. You taught me that separate the personal from the professional. Your startup's about to go public. The valuation's insane. Derek has connections I could never access married to you. Together we could 10x what you built alone. I stared at her, really looked for the first time in months. The woman I'd memorized, the freckle on her left collarbone, the way she bit her lip when concentrating, was still there, but overlaid with someone I didn't recognize. You think love is a line item? I asked. Something to leverage? Her eyes softened, and for a second the old Sarah flickered. I was drowning, Jake. You were gone all the time, pitch meetings, term sheets, that damn incubator in Silicon Valley. I felt invisible. Derek saw me. He reminded me who I was before I became Jake's wife. A tear slipped down her cheek. Real or rehearsed, I couldn't tell anymore. I convinced myself if I could just prove I was your equal, you'd look at me the way you used to. This was supposed to be my triumph, not your destruction. The absurdity hit me then. All those nights I'd come home exhausted, kissing her hello while answering emails on my phone. I'd been building a moat she couldn't cross. I'd stopped asking about her dreams because mine were finally coming true. We'd both betrayed each other long before Derek's texts. Me with neglect, her with sabotage. I stood up slowly, legs numb. Pack a bag, I said. You have until morning. She reached for me, fingers brushing my wrist. Jake. No, I stepped back, the distance between us suddenly galactic. You wanted to take my company? Fine. But you don't get to take my dignity too. That night I slept in the guest room. Door locked, her muffled sobs bleeding through the walls like radio static. At dawn I heard the front door close, the sound of her suitcase wheels on hardwood final as a judge's gavel. I didn't watch her leave. The divorce papers cited irreconcilable differences. The board never learned how close we came to a hostile takeover. I quietly dissolved the shell corp Derek had set up and tightened shareholder agreements until they squeaked. Sarah got the house in the settlement. She'd always loved the view. And I kept the company, though victory tasted like ash. 6 months later I ran into her at the farmer's market. She was thinner, eyes shadowed, holding a basket of peaches like they might bruise if she gripped too hard. We stood among the scent of kettle corn and cut grass, two strangers who once knew every inch of each other's souls. I'm sorry, she said before I could speak. Not for wanting more. For how I went about it. I lost myself, Jake. And I lost you. I nodded, throat thick. I lost you too. Somewhere between seed rounds and Series B. She started to say more, but I gently took a peach from her basket, paid the vendor and walked away. The fruit was perfect, golden, fragrant, impossible to eat without making a mess. Some things once bruised can never go back to the way they were. I still build software. I still chase dreams. But every night before I close my laptop, I send a text to no one. I see you. It's the reminder that love isn't a cap table you manipulate. It's the quiet choice every single day to look up from the screen and truly see the person beside you. I learned that lesson the hardest way possible, and some truths only heartbreak can teach.